there, and welcome back to Build with the Boys. We've now got the next 4 issues of the Hachette Titanic, starting with 37. Now you're going to have to bear with me, because not only have I got a broken wrist, I'm also nursing a fever. I am so beaten up right now, it's unreal, but this has been so long coming. I just want to get it done. I just want to do it. I've been chomping at the bit to do Titanic, as I know a lot of you have as well. But this is about 11 days late. And that is due to postal strikes. But it is what it is. There's nothing we can do about that. They're here now, and that's what matters. So in this one, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be fitting the motor. And we're going to be starting our electrics to the engine. There's not a ton to do in this. But at the same time, it's incredibly critical. Because if we get this wrong, engine ain't going to work. So the only piece we need for this one is our gearbox. That's it. We don't need to bring up the whole engine room, just the gearbox. Then we're going to go. At the end of this one, we are going to be having our Titanic talk as normal, and we're going to talk about dogs. And that's weird, but there was a bunch of dogs on board the Titanic, and as it was sinking, dogs were running around on board. You never see that in the movies, do you? But yeah, a lot of dogs were just sprinting around on the deck. We're going to talk about whose dogs they were, which dogs lived, which dogs sadly didn't. But that'll be the chat at the end. If you haven't yet, please hit the like button and subscribe button. But without further ado, let's crack this one open and let's get into it. So here are the parts that we get in this stage. We get this motor here that's going to power our engines. We've got a gear shaft. We've got one set of screws. That makes me happy because having just done the root master and having to use like 50 different screws, one screw is nice. We have this, what will be the base of the engine. And we have this, which is going to be the, it's going to hold the motor too. Our gearbox, so bringing over our gearbox from last month. Let's get into it. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is using this part here and using our engine. Now, you might think you can put this anywhere you want. You can't. You need the orientation of the centerpiece here in the right way. So the flat side of this goes to the left. Again, with this, you can't just put this anywhere you want. They're advising that the red wire goes to the left, the black wire goes to the right. So once you've got that lined up, this should, he says, famous last words, there we go, fit in. If you need to adjust that, take the shaft they've just given you, pop it in there, and just rotate until you get it in the right position. Now they want us to unthread this cable, which seems a little odd. I don't know why we didn't do that first, but this is the instruction. So we're going to unthread this. This is a lot of cable, a hell of a lot. Okay, let's bring all that out. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to take this piece here and have it in this orientation, like so. We are going to flow through here, and we want, again, red left, black right, so that matches up. Through there like so. And then we're going to pull this whole cable through. And because it's all coiled up, it's not playing ball quite how I wanted to. There we go. You ever had a fever and a broken wrist at the same time? Don't recommend it. Right, so here we go through with this. This is a really long wire. Right. Straight through, straight through, straight through. Okay, now. And I'm going to fit this to this section. Okay, now there's only the orientation that we're going to let go around one way. So we're going to rotate that round. This should. He says. There we go. Press that one down. And that's how we're looking. So we're going to put some screws in here and tighten this up. And then this should sit nice and flush and move on to the next stage. So I'm going to get the 4 of the AP screws. So let's crack those open, screw this in. So how are your Titanics going, people? I mean, I love hearing about your work. I love seeing your mods. I mean, some of your mods are fantastic. And I love seeing them. Now, everyone's got a different interpretation of how they want their Titanic to look. But the one thing I will ask all of you, don't argue about it, right? It's honestly, arguing with strangers on social media, it's just noise. That's all it is. You're never going to convince them that they're wrong, and you're never going to convince them you're right. It just isn't. So when it comes to Titanic, it's quite polarizing, because there are certain people that believe certain things about it, and there are others that believe others, and part of the mystery of the Titanic is that we don't know. So, the reason why I'm telling you this is because we're coming up to a stage soon that's got propellers in it, and I have never seen anyone argue more about how many blades propellers had on the Titan than anything else. It's insane. Now, I get it. There are people like, there's evidence it was 4, and there's evidence it was 3, and there's no evidence. Okay, whatever. You can modify it if you want to, but, you know, just be respectful of each other. Be respectful of each other. I mean, it's just the way it is, you know. I mean, as I've said, I'm building mine stock for the people out there that aren't modders. I mean, I've seen little things I'd like to mod, and eventually one day I will, but for the sake of the build instructions on the channel, mine is stock. So I won't be altering anything unless we need to, unless we find something that sticks. We need to mod that. But I won't be adding any paint or anything like that. I'm building mine stock, so again, you can kind of see this is what it looks like stock. And then after the fact, I might modify it. So there we go. That's our 4 AP screws in. That's our wire in place. That's that section pretty much done. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to take our base, and we're going to thread the wire through the base, and more AP screws are going to go into it. Bloody hell. Right. So through we go. World's longest wire. Through. There we go. And there we go. So let's get all this right. There we go. So that fits nice. That fits very nice and snug. 4 more AP screws. So yeah, again, I mean, I've seen arguments about everything from the colour of the engine to the shape of the door, to what the hatch looks like, to what the hatch doesn't look like, to where the anchor should be, to where the anchor shouldn't be, to where the reality of it is, though, kids, no one knows. So as much as you can, you know, well, this is the best evidence there is. It is the best evidence there is. There's plenty of evidence, but it still doesn't make it. It wouldn't stand in a court. It just wouldn't. So it's up to you, man. I mean, this is what I say always. It's your model, right? No one else is. So you do what you want to do, and don't worry about what other people do. You do what you want to do. Like if you built Ecto 1 and you want to paint the thing pink, you go for it, man. It's yours. You paid for it. It's not up to anybody else what you do. Same with this. So if you want to add paint to your Titanic, well, you go for it. If you don't want to, don't feel bad about that. It's your model, man. It's meant to enjoy it. We don't mourn our hobby. We celebrate it, you know? So that is that one in place. It's looking really nice now. This is looking really good. I can kind of see where we're going with this. So we're all through now. I think the only thing we've got left to do, because this isn't being fitted to the engine room floor, is, yeah, we've got to put the gear shaft in. So we're going to take that one there. I mean, I know this is coming back out, but what I'm going to do is flipping it over that way. This is going to go that way around. No, it isn't. I see. There we go. Once you find the orientation, it's in. So there we go. That's in. That's working. So if I rotate that with my hand, you can see those are rotating. I don't want to do that too much. I don't want to bugger the engine up. But that, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, is stage 37 complete. Let's have a chat. So that's 37 complete, nice and easy. And I think that's going to be the theme of all 4 this month. I don't think anything will be overly complex. I mean, I think we might have problems getting the engine running, but who knows? But there we go, we're done. So this is going to fit into place on our engine room floor. And this is what's going to make those engines turn. In the next one, we have wiring. I do have a picture I can show you. I mean, you don't really need to because it's going to be up very, very soon. But basically what we're getting in the next one is not a lot at all, really. We are getting a USB cable, we are getting a chip, and we're getting some screws. That's it. But there's going to be a lot to do because we're going to put all this in place and we're going to get this running. Now, you will need something to power it because batteries ain't going to cut it. So you are either going to need one of the following. You're going to need to use a laptop. You are going to need to use a power bank, Or if you've got a mobile phone adapter, you can plug it into the mains. I don't think that would do any harm at all. So that's what you can do, because I mean, ultimately, I don't know how they're going to power this. I don't. If USB cables are coming into play, it would suggest to me there's going to be an external power source that's going to power this, which will then be interesting to see how we get that into the case. You know what I mean? Unless there's a hole. If there isn't, we're drilling one. So that's what we got there. Now, I did say at the beginning we're going to have our Titanic chat. So if you have just stopped by for the instructions, thank you for stopping by. Please remember to like and subscribe. If you are sticking around for our Titanic story, I did say at the beginning we're talking about dogs. We're not talking about dogs. That's what a fever will do to you. We're talking about Jenny the cat. So who's Jenny the cat? Well, it was quite common back in the day to have a cat on board ships. They kept rodent population down. That was the whole point. The presence of a cat is enough to make rodents run. So Jenny was kept. You're always going to get rats on a ship. That's always going to happen. But Jenny the cat was sort of kept areas where they didn't want the rats going. So it wasn't unheard of to see her in the galley and places like that. Jenny was originally the Olympic cat. So she was the official cat of the Olympic. And they moved her over to the Titanic. And there is... So this was, for the longest time, it was up in the air on whether or not there was a cat on board the Titanic. Well, there was. There has been a picture discovered of Jenny the cat on board the Titanic. And here she is. So that's Jenny the cat. That's the only known picture of her. So what happened to Jenny? Well, it wasn't just Jenny, because very early into her journey on the Titanic from Ireland, Jenny had kittens. And Jenny had a particular affection for a scullion named Jim. And she bedded down next to him, and she had her kittens by where Jim always was. And they would feed her scraps and her kitten scraps from the galley. And she was a good mum. And she did her job. She was a good ship cat. Now, where this story gets a little bit hokey, is what happened to Jenny. Did Jenny perish along with her kittens on the Titanic? Well, apparently, no. Jim the Scullion joined Titanic in Belfast, sailed down to Southampton, and sailed over to France. Now, he was offered the opportunity to remain with Titanic on to New York. Now, how much of this is true, I don't know, because this is where it gets a little bit fantastical. Jim couldn't find Jenny. He was looking around for her, couldn't see her, and her kittens were gone as well. Jim then claims that Jenny was taking the cats off the ship. She was taking the kittens off the ship. He watched her take the kittens one by one off the ship into France. He didn't know why she was doing this. He assumed it was she didn't want the kittens on the ship. But Jenny didn't come back. So Jenny removed all the kittens from the ship. And he said it gave him a very ominous feeling that the cat was abandoned in ship. And he didn't know why. He claims, based on that he declined to get back on Titanic. He said once he saw the cat getting off the ship, and he said, that cat has got a feeling. And he refused to get back on board. It's unusual. I mean, is it true? I don't know. I mean, he always stuck to this story. And we do know Jenny the cat was on board the Titanic, but we don't know she got off in France. There's no evidence she got off in France. There's no evidence that she drowned either. We don't know. But there was also a stewardess on board who has said she remembers Jenny. She remembers stroking Jenny. She remembers seeing Jenny. And the stewardess on board, we will talk about it in another episode, because she actually served on the Olympic, the Titanic, and the Britannic. So she served on all three, and survived disasters on all three. She survived the Olympic, the Titanic, and the Britannic sinkings, which is remarkable. So either she is the luckiest woman alive or the most cursed woman alive. It puts me in mind of that show Murder, She Wrote, where Angela Lansbury's Jessica Fletcher would turn up at a wedding or a reunion or a party and solve a crime. And it's like, wow, how lucky to know her. Is it? Because I can tell you now, if I was at a family wedding and Angela Lansbury turned up, I'd leave, because it either means I'm going to get murdered or someone's going to get murdered. She was essentially the Grim Reaper. If she turns up, someone's going to get murdered. So, I don't know, the stewardess, I'm like, how unlucky are you? Are you cursed? Does every ship you get on sink? But we're going to talk about her in another episode. That's all from this one. So, very excited. I'm going to move on to the electrics. In the next one, we are going to see, fingers crossed, the engine's working when we wire this up. So, in a world where you can be anything at all, just be nice. Please remember to like and subscribe if you haven't yet. Thank you for stopping by, and we will catch you on the next one.